Is there such a thing as too much luck? Is there such a thing as too much fun? Messing around, wondering how it's taken so long. I'm really so strong. It's not too much at all.
Welcome back to Too Much with Denise Love Hewett. I am here with the enigmatic, charismatic, dynamic Sarah Yarkin, who is my dear, dear friend. And I've been wanting to bring her on the pod for a while because I think she has a very interesting life journey, but also has a level of self-awareness that I admire and has been a beautiful friendship to learn from. And so just because I got to gas her up, I'm going to read her bio.
No.
Which she sent me 4 emails and said, cut it down, cut it down, cut it down. And I have cut it down, but it might still be too long for her liking. So Here we go. Sarah Yarkin is an actress and my friend. Currently, Yarkin can be seen in the highly anticipated second season of Paramount Plus's drama comedy series School Spirits, which you have not watched. You should be, because it rocks. She stars in it alongside Peyton and Milo Manheim. The series is based on the graphic novel and follows Maddie, a teen stuck in the afterlife investigating her own disappearance, who goes on a crime-solving mission as she adjusts to high school purgatory. Yarkin plays Rhonda, a bohemian girl who was murdered by her guidance counselor in 1963. Season 1 premiered in 2023 and was later released on Netflix, where it lived on Netflix's top 10 list for 3 consecutive months. In 2022, Yarkin led David Blue Garcia's Texas Chainsaw Massacre for Netflix, which we watched all together at a bar in Echo Park. And in 2022, Yarkin played a standout supporting role for Searchlight's Not Okay, opposite Zoe Deutsch and Dylan O'Brien. Additional film credits include Happy Death Day to You, Eat Brains Love. She's been seen in American Horror Story, The Middle, Transparent, Single Parent, Motherland, and The Good Place. Yarkin now resides in Brooklyn. Sad. And her passion project is singing and songwriting. Her single Rosy Glasses made a splash in School Spirits. And if you have not gone to listen to Sarah on Spotify, I suggest you do. Her music is very beautiful and soulful and fun and light and free. And welcome to the pod, Sarah Yarkin.
I don't know how to live up to that bio and that intro. I don't know what to do.
Did it help with the energy I put behind it?
Yeah, I mean, you read the bio in such a way that makes me want to be that person.
Ooh, you are that person.
No, but you know what I mean? And it's I was yeah, those are jobs. That's it. I was oh, okay. I was I've worked before. Okay.
You're a fully working actor. You're
sometimes it's like that, and sometimes it doesn't feel like that. So that was beautiful. I mean, you cut it down in also such a masterful way.
Oh, thank you.
I didn't read it before, so I don't know what it says.
Well, it was longer, but I made the necessary cuts.
You did a really gorgeous job.
Thank you. But I want to go back actually to something really interesting that I just want to pull out. You said that as a working actor, sometimes it doesn't feel like that. In the creative path, this is something that I consistently feel is glossed over, is this idea that you hit these little milestones of getting to sort of where you want to go, but it feels sometimes like you're running in place. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Because I know you've had a time the past couple years sort of in the waiting.
Yeah, I feel like I had to learn at a really early time in my career that each little win you think is going to be a linear thing. I did this, so then that means my next project's going to be even bigger. And then the next one's going to be bigger. And then the next one. And that's just never the case. I did one thing and then the next thing I did is not as good. And the next thing I did is a smaller part in something else. And then you get a big thing. And it's just always going to be this non-linear thing where you plant a seed with one person and then maybe you hear back from them 5 years later. And they're hey, we remember you for that thing. You weren't right for that role, but we remembered you. And we're doing a thing now. And I got a message today from someone I worked with in 2017 being hey, your name just came across my table. How are you? And I was oh, now you're shooting a feature? I'd love to talk to you. There's just things where you never know. And I feel when I was younger and right out of college, I was oh, this is how it's going to work. I'm going to book this. And then because of that, I'll book my next huge movie. and then I'll be a series regular. Like there was just such an idea in my head of how careers go, and I've had to unlearn that expectation.
So how do you quantify success for yourself now?
$1 million. Every time I win $1 million. No.
Only financially.
Yeah, only financially. I consider success as like how much money's in my pocket, right? How much money. No, success, I feel like I was just talking to my friend Minnie about this, about how to take a job, it has to qualify, it has to have one of three things or all of them, which would be the most amazing job in the world. But you can't take a job if it doesn't have one of these three things. One is money. If it's just gonna pay you and you just do a money job, great. Sometimes you need that. Two, a passion project. Like this is something that maybe you make no money, but this is going to fuel you inside for your art. Or three, it's gonna move the needle in your career in some way. And if it's not doing any of those three, you can't take that job because you'll be miserable. And I feel like what I consider success is like the creative, the passion of like, I'm doing a job that excites me inside. And that's the most exciting thing, even if I'm getting paid nothing. But the idea that I'm making something that I care about, that shows what I can do in some way is like the most exciting thing I could possibly do. But I understand that not every job is going to be that.
Well, it's also the reality of a creative life, which a lot of people don't understand, is that it's a feast or famine cycle. So you need to have jobs that can float you during that fallow period. And it's really hard, which is why you see a lot of artists who come from family money or those types of things. It's because who can afford to, what do you do during those fallow periods? It's a lot harder to be a waiter or a bartender and then audition all day long. It's a much more precarious journey than to be like, I'm okay if I don't work for a year.
Well, you have to have the luxury of being choosy with your jobs then, of being like, oh, I don't want to do that. That's not a good job for me, or that's not what I care about. But you have to have the luxury of getting to choose that.
My shorthand philosophy, which came after my startup died, was any job I do has to be energetically neutral or energetically joyful. Nothing can take from me, but if it's neutral, it's money, it's fine, it's a job. If it's joyful, that's really what I'm always chasing. But I made a hard line in the sand, which was like, I can't do things that are going to take from me just because I had been in such a cycle of toxic work environments and hustle culture and grind culture that depleted me. And so in this next phase of my career, I was like, it has to be generative for me or take nothing.
But I love that even redefining in your brain of like, this isn't a negative experience. It's either neutral or positive, because I feel like sometimes in the past, or I was younger and I was like mad about something and made it into a really negative thing in my head, that if I had just gone and detached a little and gone, Sarah, this is just something you need to do right now. You're going to do it. It's going to be done. Great. But there was something where the story in my head of like, I don't want to do this and I'm mad and it shouldn't be run this way, and you want to control everything. And I feel like I've had to work so much on letting go and going, hey, this is a neutral experience.
The detaching is hard.
It's so hard. I don't know how anyone does that.
It's taken me a long time. When I was pitching investors, if you've seen my talk, some of these people have, it's like, hundreds and hundreds of rejections. And same thing, actors are very similar, right? Hundreds and hundreds of rejections. And it used to just bounce off me. And then when I shut down my company, I felt the residual effect of the overbearing weight of rejection. And I finally sat in it and I was like, I'm not the same person. I don't deal with rejection in the same way I did 10 years ago. It's like a part of my cellular structure now. It's sort of how I explain it. I had a meeting recently where I just started crying for no reason after the meeting, because it wasn't even a bad rejection. It was just feedback that felt like PTSD. It felt like old feedback, even though it was good feedback. And my body couldn't discern between the two. And so my brain was like, I know that's good feedback, but it feels like this thing. And I found in the past, I guess 6 months, something's changed within me. Something is not the same. I'm finding rejection a little bit easier. Like I'm more detached from everything, where I'm just like, whatever's meant to work will work, and whatever's falling away is in my highest good.
I totally get that. I just had that feeling where it used to be like if I auditioned for something, I would hold it so tight. I would hold on to this being like, I'm going to get this job, and I'm already looking at Airbnbs in the city, and I'm, and I'm texting people like, do you guys want to come visit me? And I haven't gotten the job, right? But I'm like hoping, and it's all I'm thinking about. And recently I've been writing more. I'm recording a new song. I'm writing a script with my girlfriend. I'm writing a short film for myself. And there's something where I auditioned for something. I said, that'd be so cool if I got it. And also, if not, whatever. Like it wasn't my only thing. I'm feeling a lot of regret, I think, of these past 10 years, 12 years of going, oh God, why am I not working? And just waiting for a job. And I'm finally hearing those voices going, you have to make your own work. I'm finally hearing them. Everyone said that, all of college, all of that. And I was kind of like, I need a job first. I need to focus on getting a job. And I'm finally now at the point going, oh, I can't just wait for a job. I'm never going to be happy then.
Because you don't have agency. You're at the whim of who casts you. So it's such a difficult place to be as an actor sometimes because you're not picking the roles necessarily all the time. It's where you get cast, and maybe you get cast in a role that you're not that connected to.
Right. And things have definitely, like, the landscape has changed, I think, since COVID. We used to go in the room and audition. And I grew up doing theater. So I'd go in and I'd meet people. And I feel like I'm much better in the room. And since COVID, everything's remote. You're sending in self-tapes. And it's hard for me. I just don't feel as connected. I feel like I'm overthinking a lot. I'm much better in front of people, meeting people. Even this is easier than sending.
Well, because you can read. Totally. You can read the people. There's also an energetic exchange happening, which is why I love live performance versus recorded performance, because you're actually there's something that's transacting between you and the audience, even if it's just one person.
Totally. Yeah, 100%. That's why people love theater, right? Like, you go there and you feel that. There's a person sweating on stage in front of you. That's visceral. That's why I fell in love with theater. And you feel the audience's energy. You feel all of that. And so, yeah, it's definitely, things have changed, and the strikes and the fires. And so it's just sort of an unpredictable thing of our industry is really delicate, and anything can change at any moment. And asking myself, well, what do I have to hold on to when work isn't happening?
So what are you holding on to?
My dog.
Finley.
My dog
Finley.
I'm holding on to, I think, just my own work, right? Like what I'm writing and what I'm recording this song. And that's been this amazing thing that I forgot how much I love doing this. And just what's in my control. How do I want to spend my time? Because even if I have 4 auditions in a week, that's not my whole week, right? Even if I have 0 auditions in 3 weeks, well, what am I doing? And I feel like so much of my time was waiting. Oh, I used to talk about waiting so much. I used to write about waiting. I used to talk to my therapist about waiting. And the only remedy I've just realized, like just figured this out, is being like, oh, girl, you can't be waiting. Like, you actually have to do something else. Like, redirect that energy, make something.
I'm very newly focused on process. I think process is the point. It's taken me a long time to get there. We're not responsible for the outcome. We don't get to determine how the work is perceived. But it still feels like sometimes you make something, or you're making something and you're waiting to see the reaction. And then when the reaction isn't necessarily what you want, you're like, okay, I'm going to try again.
Totally.
And just like keep doing the thing. But I'm trying to relinquish that a little bit and just say that's really not the point. And there's a Gandhi quote, which is all about full effort is victory. Full effort is the point. Like, the effort is the point. It's nothing else. And so I think even if it's a quote unquote external failure, if you put your whole heart and whole humanity into a thing, that is the point, and that's the victory. And so I'm just trying to rewire my brain to believe that all the time.
No, that's like beautiful. I need to know that. Nicole and I were writing, my girlfriend and I were writing this script, and some days it feels really good and some days it feels really bad. And the other day it felt really good, and we celebrated. We went out to dinner, and she was like, we just have to celebrate the process.
Accurate. That's 100% right. I'm trying to really enjoy the little wins. I've just seen so many people in my life who are big leaders or CEOs of companies, and they just, something really big happens and they don't take the time to enjoy it. They're on to the next thing. And then you wake up 10 years later, blink, your life's passed you by, and you didn't get to savor the really like good stuff.
Totally.
So Okay, so I want to talk about School Spirits.
Yes. I'm on that show.
I'm a big fan. I watched to support Sarah initially, and then I became hooked and came up with my own alternative plot lines for season 2. So
Wait, what were they?
I told you my belief about, I think it was, I forget now, but I had a whole theory around Peyton's character.
Maybe you're right
initially.
Because you haven't seen the second season yet, so maybe
I haven't seen the
that
second
is
season.
what happens. And I don't remember your theory, so you could be right.
Well, I don't think I was because I think later you told me I was wrong. But
okay, crazy. That's crazy.
But the point was, I'm excited to tune in and find out what's going on. It's a great show. It's a fun show. It also has depth to it. So it's a thriller. It's a fun high school, the things you love about a high school show. But there's a lot of stuff about grief and life, and it's poignant beyond the carefree nature of it, which I think people need to know because it's a show that contains multitudes.
That's sweet.
It's true. Aww. It's true. And I think grief and coming to terms with grief is a thing that a lot of people have a hard time with. So seeing it in a way that feels fun or approachable. So just to give people the top line, I said it in the intro, but essentially what happens is all these people have passed and they're stuck in purgatory. So it's almost like AA, but they have like these ghost purgatory meetings, and it's really fun and cute. But these are like unreconciled deaths, or they don't know what happened or why, and they're waiting to move on to the next phase of their soul's chapter. And so it's an interesting way to look at the process of coming to terms with your own death, your own life, but then also the people around you.
Totally.
It's a cool device.
I think I'm not the biggest supernatural person. Like, I never wanted to read fantasy growing up because I was like, that's not real. But I love the show because I think Megan and Nate Trinner, the creators, just created such an amazing place to explore very real things in a supernatural sense, right? I don't know if I believe in ghosts. Maybe I do. I don't know yet. But
I think I do.
Okay, well then you're going to love this show. You're going to love the second season, Denise. But I think there's so many real feelings about trauma and how we move on from that and maybe don't move on from that. And everyone's sort of looping in their own way on their own things, right? Their own anxieties, their own things. My character's been dead for 60 years and she's been looping on the same things for that long of this is what happened. This is the narrative. And what does it take to shift that or open yourself up in a way that you've been conditioned not to?
So let's talk about the process of getting the role of Rhonda. What drew you to her? What that process was like? And I mean, it was a very exciting time for you, I remember.
Yeah, I was going back and forth between LA and New York, and I was in LA for like the week or something, and my friend Steven came over to help me with the tape. And I remember I got this and I was like, I've always wanted to play someone from a different time. I just always have felt like that would make sense for me, but I've never gotten that role. And I was like, okay, she's like dark and she's kind of cool. And I was really concerned because I don't think I'm very cool. And I was playing a lot of like really big nerds. Like I would get typecast sort of, and not in like big roles, but little things where I'd be like, anyway, like I would like do that. Like that was my thing. I was like, I'm the loser. Oh, you need a loser to walk in that scene? Oh my God, I'm free. So it was cool. I didn't think I was going to get this. I was like, okay, she's supposed to be like really cool and dark and like her voice is probably like down here. And I was like, how do I not move my face? I'm very emotive. I was like, shit. So I did this tape and then I went to New York and I was subletting in this really cute apartment. And I was like, life is so good. And then I had a callback and it was a Zoom with the producers and everyone. And I was like, oh my God, like that's crazy. What if I got this? And the character was written as smoking a cigarette all the time. And then Paramount later changed it to lollipops because we don't like cigarettes. But so I've never smoked a cigarette in my life. And I was like,
health is
okay.
wealth.
Yeah, but truly I was like, no, that's so bad for you.
Yeah,
so I was like,
agree.
okay, well, how do you smoke a cigarette? So I was like YouTubing videos of like people smoking cigarettes. And then I do this audition in this apartment and I like have a rolled up like Post-it. And in between every line, I was like, anyway. And then I'd like back to my line. I'd be like, yeah, cherry pop. And the showrunner Oliver Goldstick was like, hey, how about we don't use a cigarette, just like drop the cigarette. And I was like, fuck. I didn't do a good job with the cigarette. And then for a while, I thought they cut the cigarettes because I was so bad at it. But later I found out it was because nicotine is bad.
Nicotine is really bad.
Nicotine's
I
really
like
bad.
you. When I was in my 20s, I studied abroad in Paris, and everyone smokes there.
Well,
so I was
my
like,
neighbor's there right now for Fashion Week, and she just texted me. I was like, how is it? And she was like, Sarah, it's like 1998. Everyone's smoking cigarettes.
oh, it's so gross.
Gross.
And so for me, I don't. But there was a time period where you're like, well, maybe like, you know, I want to fit in. So I would buy cigarettes. And then I have the least addictive personality in the history of time. So I just like forget they were in my bag.
You were like,
and
oh,
I just
right.
yeah, I'd be like, oh yeah, cigarettes. Anyways, point is, didn't work on me. I'm not an addictive personality. It's a blessing. It's a blessing. Thank you. But I remember trying to be cool and be like, everyone in Paris is it. And I'm like, okay, I guess it's not.
I visited Emerson when I was looking at colleges for the theater department. And I remember going outside, walking around the campus, which isn't a campus. It's just like in Boston. And all the theater kids were outside wearing all black, smoking cigs. And I was like, oh, that is very cool. I can't be a part of this. I was like, I don't know how to talk to you. But I channeled Rhonda. Like that, they're like in Rhonda.
They're Rhonda.
I'm channeling them because they're like really cool. But so then, that night I went on a first date with some boy off of Hinge or something. And we're sitting there and my phone's vibrating. And I'm like, oh, sorry. Oh, it's my agent. And it was like the biggest flex ever. It was like 10 p.m. because we're on New York time. And I was like, oh, sorry. Like they want to talk. I was like, hello. And then I like walked away and I came back after like screaming in a corner. And I was like, yeah, so I like booked that job. Never talked to him again. But I was like, yeah, it's crazy. And it was crazy. Like it was my first series regular role. I just could not believe that I got this. And then when we went to Vancouver, like a month later.
Which you love Vancouver.
Love Vancouver. It's so beautiful. Oh my God, it's so beautiful. And very chill and the air's clean. But I had a month in New York before I left. And I was just, oh my God, I got a job. Like the month before, if you book a job and you have 1 month before you go to shoot it, that is the best month of your whole life.
Oh yeah.
That month, you're unstoppable.
Oh yeah.
Like you're about to work. Oh, I went on dates and I was like, yeah, anyway, I booked a job. I have to go work. Like
I leave in 3 weeks.
Oh my God, it was so nice to meet you. I have to go work. There was just something of being like, I'm a working actor and I'm going to tell everyone. And then I don't remember where I was going with that, but yeah, it was crazy. Oh, and then when I got to Vancouver and I met the creators of the show, and I've never had this on anything because I've never been a series regular. Usually I'm there for like a couple episodes or something, but she's there all the time. And Megan and Nate just opened their arms to me in like a literal and metaphorical. They were truly like, what do you want to do with her? And I've never felt that. They were like, oh, how is she? Who is she? And what does she want to wear? What do you feel comfortable in? And I've never felt that sort of collaboration before in a creative way, or felt like as an actor I had a voice in creating a character.
So it must have felt like you were stepping into real agency and power.
Yeah, it was incredible. I genuinely, I tell them all the time, it was the most meaningful thing. I feel like as an actor, you're sort of at the mercy of what everyone says around you, usually. I mean, that's what you sign up to do, right? The person dresses you and they tell you what to wear and they tell you where to stand and how to say the line. And to work with people who are just like, we love you and you're Rhonda. So what does Rhonda do? We defer to you. You're Rhonda. And I was like, oh my fucking God, I'm Rhonda?
You are Rhonda.
I was like, no, she's so cool. How do I be Rhonda?
I think it's very interesting that you never thought, I didn't realize that you were cast as a nerd. In my head, you've always been cool. So it's interesting, your perception of yourself.
Okay, I need to like have you say that and I can voice record that and like hear that every morning.
It's true. It's true. I never ever thought of you that way ever.
Yeah, big nerd.
So interesting.
I was valedictorian in college.
Wait.
Yeah, like I'm a big nerd.
Fun fact,
I'm a huge loser. Fun fact, I thought college mattered and that like I would graduate
and
I'd
you're gonna
go
be
to
good
an
at
audition and they'd be like, what's your GPA? And I'd be like, oh, 4.
Valedictorian. And they're like, no one cares.
They were like, okay, no one gives
What
a
do you
fuck.
look like?
Yeah, they were like, yeah, exactly.
Wait, that's a cool flex, valedictorian. I did not know that.
Thank you. I guess it's cool.
I think it's very cool.
Thanks,
I'm smart, but I was more interested in extracurriculars than academics. Like I did fine, but I didn't need to be the straight A student. I was much more like, I want to work and I make money.
No, but I was like, I didn't want to do I went to theater school. I went to UCLA for theater and I didn't want to do a single play when I was there because I was like, this isn't real. I want to do real
not
life.
getting paid.
I'm in Los Angeles. Let me work. But with grades, I was like, and if I don't get an A, someone's going to come kill me.
Yeah, I never had that. I don't know why. But I will say there's nothing like my 20-year-old confidence. That girl, Jabless, I look back and I'm like, 20-year-old Denise, I'm trying to tap back in because she was unstoppable and bold and sometimes a little too bold, but respect. I respect the hustle. Yeah, she was cool.
I think you have to be a little delusional to decide to do whatever we've decided to do in our lives. So I feel like even my third grade self was like the most confident I'll ever be.
Oh no. Yeah. Third grade me. I mean, I moved 7 times across the US growing up. And I remember when we moved to my middle school, high school, this is like move number 6. So I'm like a veteran. And I get to school, I pinpoint who the popular people are. And I just started walking down the halls and I'd be like, hi, Teresa.
No.
Hi, Rory. Yeah, I would just say their names. And it was like, why would you just do that? I was like, I don't know. We're going to be friends, obviously, because I'm cool. They're cool. And I would just like also, like, my romantic life peaked 6th grade through 8th grade, but I wasn't allowed to date. And so then everyone, went through puberty except for me. And it was this thing where I look back and I'm like, and then I went through this 20-year depression of like bad dating stories. But middle school really was living in her power and her agency and knew her worth.
We love her.
I
miss
her. We're back.
Okay,
we took a while. Took a lot of therapy, but we're back.
Here she is.
Which brings me to, I want to talk about Rhonda, how you developed her or aspects of you that you brought to her.
Yeah, I had a week left in New York before going to Vancouver. And I had a mutual friend I saw on Instagram. We were messaging. She's like, oh, come to this bar. And it was down the block randomly from where I was staying. So I was like, okay, I'll be there in 5 minutes. What great timing. And I had, again, like 6-7 days in New York left. And I was like living my best life. Like, again, I'm about to go work, right?
Yeah, unstoppable.
I had the confidence of my third grade
Limitless.
self. I was back. And I went to this bar. And at this point, I didn't have a queer community in LA. I'll say I had a lot of like straight male friends, which is totally fine. But I don't think I had maybe the community to develop into the person that I am, if that makes sense. Or the like imagination that my life could look any different than it did. And I was in LA for 12 years. So I think there was just a part of me that was like, this is who I am and this is who I'll always be. And I went to this bar and I was hanging out with my friends like in New York and they're all queer. And I was just sort of like thinking about it. It was brewing, but I had not acted on this. Like I was just sort of like, they're all really cool. And if they're queer, that I could be, sure, why not? I don't know. But I had not done anything. I was just a baby. And I walked into this bar and some mutual friends and I see someone sitting on this bench with everyone and she's pretty mask and she's hot. And I'm like, oh, if I was into girls, it would be someone who looks like this, like a prototype of this person. And we start talking and we're like bantering and I'm like, oh my God. And nothing happens and I leave that night and I go to Vancouver and I think about her the whole time and I'm like, oh my God, like what? But in this time, though nothing happened, there was something clear to me that I was as attracted to her as I had been to any guy. And that did not make a difference. There was just no question of, oh my God, but that's a woman. I just genuinely wasn't concerned. And I went to Vancouver and I'm developing Rhonda. And as I feel like there was just some symbiotic relationship happening as I developed this character, as I developed myself. And I walk in there and a lot of the creators of the show are gay men. There's a lot of gay people on the show and we're introducing ourselves. We're getting to know each other. And off the bat, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm bi. And it came out of my mouth and I was like, that actually makes sense. I totally am. And today, I don't know if I define myself as bi or queer or whatever you want to call it. I don't really care. But there was something as I said that like clicked where I think, when you've been somewhere for a really long time with the same people, there's sort of an inflexible feeling of like, this is who I am, so I can't change. And I don't think anyone put that on me but myself, but a feeling of this is who I am, so this is who I'll always be. And there was something about walking into a room with people I've never met before. They don't know me from yesterday or a year ago or 14 years ago and being like, this is who I am today. and just being accepted for that.
Mm.
And there was no question of, oh, but have you dated a girl? Oh, like, well, there was no question. I was just like, oh yeah, I'm bi. And as we created Rhonda, Nate, the creator, was like, and you think Rhonda is like queer, right? And I was like, 100%. I was like, I think Rhonda's queer. And there was no questions asked. It was like 100%. Yeah, of course she is. She's from the 60s. That would make sense. Who knows if she was out? Who knows if she knew this? But this Rhonda's queer. And I felt so comfortable. There was just no doubt in my mind of it made 100% sense to me that that's who this character is, as I knew that's who I was.
I love that.
Yeah.
We were all very happy when you and Nicole started dating.
Same.
Sarah and I share a similar, I guess, history in terms of dating challenges.
Oh, no.
Well, I think that we just both were in bad loops or bad patterning around it and knew it, and we're trying to figure it out. And I think it helps sometimes when you are in those patterning of loops is you get sick of your own shit. So you know something has to change, but what is the thing that changes? And in your case, I think it, pushed you into more of who you were meant to be. And same with me, just, I'm still stuck in the cishet prison. So
no, but there's something like, I knew my shit. I knew my own shit. I knew it really well. And I know my friends knew my shit, and everyone was really fluent in my shit that I would do. Right. And I can't even imagine how frustrating it must have been. So I apologize for all.
No. In the scheme of people, for the record, I have someone who's a much bigger offender than you. It's been like a 5-year loop, and I'm like, we need to stop record.
But there's something that clicked in me, and I think it's helped me understand my friends too better when they're looping on someone or something that in my head I go, this isn't your person if they're making you feel this way. But I know there's nothing I can say that's going to make you realize that until you realize it, because I feel like there were so many friends that were just trying to support me and be the best. And I'm like, there's nothing anyone could have said that would have made me get over so-and-so or been like, of course, right, he doesn't like me, because I had to see it for myself. And I feel like I had just done my same pattern with unavailable guy after unavailable guy after unavailable guy, that I think meeting Nicole, who is a woman, yes, but also an incredibly emotionally evolved person. She teaches me things of how to communicate that I don't think I'd have anyone that could meet me and challenge me to communicate better, to speak about my emotions better, to be a better partner. I don't think I've ever found that in a guy, which I'm not saying they don't exist. I'm sure some are out there, but
no, they definitely no, they definitely do. But the unhealthy to healthy attachment pipeline, which is something I've been have worked a lot on. And certainly I'm in this new chapter of dating in which I'm finally emotionally available and healthier. And the aspect of dating feels really different in this space. And I'm like, oh, I would probably have dated more if this is how it felt, because every time when you're unhealthy attachment, the stakes are higher. It feels more intense. It feels more volatile. There's not a same level of calm that you feel when you're dating healthfully, because you over attach too quickly in unhealthy attachment. Like you connect to someone and you're like, this is it, or this is my person, which is not normal. And to have a space where you're just like, oh, I'm interested, but it doesn't overtake my brain or my body, is a whole new world. I don't judge that process or anything because I've lived it, but finding someone who you feel calm with, that you can say what you think to without fear of them abandoning you or leaving you or judging you, is the point. And so the fact that you found that in someone is just the best.
Yeah. I think about it sometimes. I'm like, oh my God, what if I hadn't have gone to that bar that night? Because it was just a random happenstance thing if she hadn't gone. And I'm like, would I have still be in, hopefully not, in those loops, right?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. I'm a different person, but there's this thing of the right time at the right place. All those things like had to happen. It was meant to be in some way.
I do believe the universe. I believe very much the universe brings us people at certain times to help us step in. I talk to the universe all the time, so I'm one of those. But I'm always asking them for what I need. And so part of it was, I'm ready to date. I think I'm in this place where I'm healthier, and so now I'm meeting people that are healthier, and it's because I'm actually that person. And so much of it is, I think this is actually the biggest thing, is that we have to change to attract something different. You're not just automatically going to attract a different thing just because you're sick of the thing you've been dating.
And to rewire your brain to be like, because this person is confusing me, should not be someone I want to see more. Or this shouldn't be the person I'm now in love with because they're being unclear, right? I was just talking with someone yesterday about like, is it butterflies or is it anxiety? And for me, they were so tightly intertwined. They were the same thing. It was impossible to suss out, wait, do they make me feel unsafe and confused, or do I love them? And like when I met Nicole, it was all butterflies. Like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know in that moment if I was aware of like, do I feel safe? Do I feel that? And when we started dating, she was just incredibly clear with me about how she felt about me. And I never felt, it was never an unsafe environment to express myself. And I feel like in hindsight, every situation I'd been in before this was an unsafe environment to express myself.
I feel that way too. Like hindsight is 2020. When you experience things, be like, oh yeah, that wasn't good. That did not feel good.
No.
My body could not relax in that environment. But what I've also realized, a big question mark for me as I've been on this journey, is I've dated people a couple years ago and I'd be like, well, I like them. I think I'm attracted to them. But what is healthy attraction look and feel like? If you've never experienced it, how do I actually know what it is? Because unhealthy attraction is two hands and electric sockets. We are firing on all cylinders. And so if healthy attraction is like a healthy tinge of electricity, what does that look and feel like? And it took me a few people who were great people, interesting people, but I wasn't feeling super attracted. I felt like maybe a little bit, but I was like, is this it? If this is it, I don't know if that's enough for me. And only very recently have I realized you can have full attraction. That's not two hands and electric sockets, but maybe I'm holding a light bulb instead of like a tiny tinge. I'm holding a light bulb. I'm fully attracted. And then there's this healthy component. But I think it's taken a lot of people and a lot of trial and error to know this is actually what it can feel like.
Right. And like, how does something feel exciting, but also safe? And I feel like this is the first time I've ever felt that. I feel like all I knew was exciting and scary. Like exciting and
or like overwhelming
tomorrow.
Or overwhelming chemistry where you're like, maybe if it's this intense, it's not good.
But even going in the opposite direction, I feel like my mom used to say to me, you should give guys more of a chance. Why? You don't like them after one date, give them a chance. And in my head, I was like, wait, if I'm not obsessed with them and want to move in with them after the first date, why would I see them again? And so then maybe I would give some people too much of a chance, even though I knew there was nothing there. But I was like, well, I should give them a chance. Maybe they'll come along, or something. And I don't know. There was something with Nicole where I was like incredibly excited and oh my God, I love this person. But I also could speak freely. I felt excited and nervous. I was like, oh my God, what if she doesn't like me? And I feel like I had to do a lot of rewiring in my brain to be more of an open person after years of dating unavailable men.
How did you do that?
I mean, she still calls me out on things now, but like, to recognize that she has given me a safe space and I don't have to be cold or standoffish or whatever it is because I feel like I'm protecting myself. I was scared to say I love you first because of a past relationship with a man where I said it first and then it ended, right? And after many months, he didn't know if he loved me. And in my head, I'm like, I've loved you this whole time. What do you mean? But I blamed it on myself for ruining the relationship in the moment where so in this relationship, I was scared to say it first. And it was just so not the case. This person loves me, obviously. And yet I had taken the wrong lesson out of things to be like, oh, I was the problem. I was the problem in every single one of those relationships. Oh, he was unavailable and avoidant and abandoned me because I did something wrong.
Yeah.
And like just took away every wrong thing. Like my brain was just trying to protect myself in every situation.
Well, it's the pick me thing. I went through a series of wanting to be chosen by these unavailable people because I subconsciously learned I had to work for love or earn love, and then to flip that and be like, I don't have to do anything. I just have to exist, and that's enough. And, show up for people, obviously, and in a mutual reciprocal way. But moving from a place of pick me to a place of we're picking each other, and are we seeing each other in the right way? That was a big shift, which is I'm looking to be picked, obviously, but I'm also doing the picking.
Totally. You know what you want. There was also something, do you know Jillian Turecki? I feel like we've talked about her. Yes. And she had all her stuff is like this therapy stuff on Instagram and I love it. And there was a whole thing I did the winter before I started dating Nicole. And it was like write down everything you want in a partner. Physical, emotional, everything you want. Trustworthy.
I have a long list that's still manifesting.
No, okay, it's like be incredibly specific, right? And I was like, they must love my dog like a son. They, whatever. Like they, blah, 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 blah. And then it was like circle the 5 most important things. Okay, so I did that. I don't remember what I wrote. And then it was like make a list of your non-negotiables. So if that person has everything you've ever wanted in a person, but they have one of these things, you have to walk away. And you have to tell your friends to hold you accountable to walk away. And I wrote down, because of the relationship that I had just gotten out of before this, that this person must know how they feel about me and be willing to try to communicate it. And I said, that's my only non-negotiable. And when I met Nicole and the chemistry was there and that this was there and the interest was there, and I was like, oh my God, I love this person. And she knew how she felt about me, and she told me and showed me in ways, right? And there was something where I was like, oh my God, I've never felt this before. I felt safe and I didn't feel scared. I didn't think she was going to run away from me. I still had programming about, oh, if I'm too excited about this thing or I invite her to dinner tonight, she's gonna leave. When I had to unlearn that and be okay being open with this person I love. But it was hard even to accept that love, I think, at first, or believe that it was real.
Of course. Well, your brain has to get accustomed to this is actually safe, and you're rewiring in real time. And I dated a guy who purported to have been in healthy relationships. But while we were dating, I told him, this is new for me. I've been in unhealthy relationships. So you just need to bear with me because I'm learning in real time how to be emotionally more forthcoming, because historically when I've done that, I've been abandoned or left. So this is a new territory for me. Just give me grace in that process. But it's tricky to do in real time, I think. I think I've cooked a little bit since that relationship, so now everything's a lot easier for me. But having that mirror all the time, it can be challenging to be the person you want to be.
But I think that's beautiful to communicate that. And I feel like if it's the right person, they'll be totally understanding and appreciate that communication. Because I feel like even things recently with Nicole, and I go, oh my God, I just realized I've never dated a woman before, so I'm not used to being a support system because these men I've dated have never had emotions that they've showed me. Right? And she goes, oh my God, that's so helpful for me to understand. Because if this whole thing with guys is that I couldn't break down their walls and they wouldn't tell me how they felt and they didn't feel anything or whatever, they never had feelings. So I never had to
accommodate them.
Never. No, I was just there freaking out about my own emotions because they weren't telling me anything. But there was never like, hey, how are you feeling? Oh, you're not feeling good? What do you want to do? There was never any language I had to learn about someone else's emotions because they didn't show them. So I feel like even just having that context and then communicating from there that it's new is wonderful.
The shift, which I think people need to know, is when you're unhealthy attachment and then you're in something secure, unhealthy people do become secure over time. If they're in those dynamics, you're a living testament that you have shifted a lot from pre and post Nicole in terms of how you just operate. I felt for a long time, maybe I was doomed. Maybe this unhealthy attachment thing was something that I wouldn't be able to ever figure out or overcome because I have examples in my life of people that have never figured it out. And so I dedicated a lot of time and energy to it. And the work works. The work works. It's really cool.
It's true. And I think, you know, I read Attached, in like 2017, and got copies for friends. I was like, this is going to change your life. I'm anxious and avoidant. And
I know I gave it to every like male showrunner that I knew, and somehow they're like, "Ooh, changing." They're like in their 50s. They're like, "Whoa, I'm avoidant."
Oh no way, I'm single and 50. I'm avoidant. There was something like that was really enlightening to see my patterns written down somewhere and call myself out. But there was also something stunting about it because then I was like, "Oh, this is how I'll always be." And then I think if you understand this further, you're not always going to be avoidant. You're going to be avoidant in situations that someone makes you feel avoidant. Someone who, or you're not always going to be anxious, right? You're going to be anxious attached when someone is being avoidant to you, right? Or this will bring this out in you. But if you're with someone who is healthy, secure, then you can also be secure. And I feel like it took finding the right person for me to feel safe and secure and unconditional love in these ways that I've never thought were possible.
This is why we invest in ourselves and the work, because when we're on the side, like it's hard to believe what is possible until you do it and your life gets better and your life gets easier. But everyone who's resistant to whether it's therapy or investigating their own patterns, it's just such a worthwhile, probably the most worthwhile endeavor of my entire life has been self-inquiry.
Yeah. Can you imagine? Can you imagine walking
No,
around
I cannot.
without this?
The heartbreak of my 20s and the grief of my 20s, I cannot imagine, because I spent so much time thinking that I just wasn't good enough. And at the same time, didn't know how to be I was like, how could I possibly be anything more and still not enough? And I just didn't know how to figure it out, because I was like, I'm learning, I'm expanding myself in all these ways, I'm chasing these big dreams, I'm doing all these things. And somehow I just felt like I never hit the mark for these people. But it was what I was attracted to. And those people, it was a false narrative that I somehow believed. And whatever, it's a part of my growth and my journey. I don't regret it, but it definitely was painful. So I'm really grateful I'm out of it.
No,
really
same.
grateful.
I love this. But I think there's also something, it's really easy, because after every failed thing I'd be in and I'd talk with my friends and we'd be like, yeah, and he sucks. And I'd be like, yeah, he sucks. And then we'd move on, right? Or I talk to my therapist and be like, oh, right, okay, he's bad for me. And I'd move on. And then I would happen again and again. And I dated probably the same guy, prototype of a guy.
Oh, yeah.
For
Yeah.
15 years. I don't know.
They also looked alike.
12 years. Yeah, they all looked alike. Whatever. There were some different ones. But really similar vibes. And I think I had to call myself out on my bullshit of like, yeah, they suck. You're not wrong. But you suck for picking them. Like, girl, why are you attracted to that? And I feel like I had to have a final test of one of these just being in that pattern again and going, okay, I'm so done. Like, I had to just be done. And seeing my pattern in such clear daylight and being like, oh, you're doing the thing. Oh my God, you're doing the thing. And I feel like I was not aware of the thing because it was easier to place it on other people, that they're avoidant, what's wrong with them? They're unavailable, what's wrong with them? And a lot's wrong, but it's also wrong of me to be picking the same guy and wondering why I'm getting different results.
For years, I believed I was emotionally available because I would be an open book with these people I dated, but I was picking people intentionally that were unavailable.
Totally. 100%.
By design, subconsciously.
Yes.
By design. So I had to realize that I was not, in fact, emotionally available. And now that I see that I am, and I understand that there's a quality of connection that is different, and there is something that I feel, I can see the difference. And I look back now and I'm like, you were so not available.
Totally.
But I was like, but I am. I'm telling them how I feel. Because
100%.
if you were available, you wouldn't be dealing with this wackadoodle shit.
Or like letting it get to you, or being like 100%. I think we picked.
You'd be like, not it, moving on,
No,
which I know. I'm like,
I think I picked people that were safe because they were unavailable, as was I. And I was like, maybe this is the right person. Maybe this is the right person. Nicole and I have talked about it too, that we'd met at the right time. Like, had we met years before, I don't think either of us would have been ready for this.
vulnerability is really hard. And there's a version of vulnerability I used to do, which is sort of false vulnerability, which was sort of trauma bonding or sharing, but not actually understanding what vulnerability meant. And the invulnerableness of being a very career-focused person and just also very independent. And frankly, I don't need a lot of, or don't like a ton of attention. So the people that I dated that sort of respected my space and boundaries were people that were avoidant. And now I'm like, okay, there's like a healthy interdependence that can happen. But when you are actually vulnerable with someone that creates a space for you to do that, it's a whole other ballgame.
Yeah, I think it's the pseudo openness or like trauma dumping. I totally get, or being like, I'm an open book, and I feel like I am. Like I meet someone, I'm like, this is who I am. Blah 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 blah. I'm just gonna say whatever, and let's go on a trip tomorrow. And I feel like to meet someone and go, oh my God, this is really important. This person feels really important, and I want to do this right. I just remembered this. There was something, we had been dating for a couple months, but I knew this was my person pretty soon. And we were sitting in the park and we were talking about going on a trip or something. I can't remember what it was, but she was like, I want to do that with you. Or maybe I wanted to buy a house upstate, or like whatever I talk about all the time. And she was like, I want to do that with you. And she kept saying that she wanted to do all these things with me, and maybe it was going to visit the Bay Area where I'm from. I can't remember what it was, but she was like, I want to do that with you, and I want to do that too. That sounds great. I want to do that. And I got so mad at her I got so mad. And later I was like, don't fuck with me. And she was like, what? And I was like,
she's like, I literally just want to do these things with you.
I was like, oh, you're one of those fucking guys. And you're just going to tell me, oh, you want to marry me and you want to do all these fucking things with me. But I don't buy it. I was like, don't promise me things you can't keep.
Woo.
Because I had just been like love bombed so much.
No, I know. And she was like, I'm just being honest.
She literally was like, oh my God, I won't say that again. You know, I think it just comes out from years of being love bombed, guys saying, let's go do a road trip and meet your parents next week, and then ghosting you.
No, it's some of this stuff is I've experienced
like
it too. It's
like
crazy.
It's
crazy
about this. But like these things where you trust someone and they want to go to Oregon with you and get that cabin and then you never hear from them again.
No, just unwell
and
because
so then,
they're just not thinking anything through. They're just trying to get your attention.
What do I take away from it other than the fact that I can't trust again?
Of course. Yeah. But now you can.
Yeah. And we did go home to see my parents and we went on a road trip and we did all the things.
A true success story over here. I just appreciate you sharing. I'm very interested for people that are suffering from unhealthy attachment to show that there is a path forward. It's been one of the most challenging areas of my life. And when my mom gets on me about this pillar, I'm just often like, why would I run towards something that has notoriously broken my heart? It's not been a fun, safe place for me. So it's not something I've prioritized. And when you meet people who have come from that place and have been able to find something good, it gives a hope for everyone else who's still struggling or suffering with it.
Just be gay. No, I can't say that would solve everything. Because it's also unfair for me
to
speak about like the queer experience and be like, and all women, all guys, all people who are not like cis white men are great. And like, that's just like, not the truth. Of course. I lucked out and met an incredibly emotionally available person who loves me. But I'm sure there's a lot of fuckboys out there, all types of
course there are. Of course there are. But humans come in all shades and sizes and colors. And in the world we live in, we need to celebrate them all.
Yes.
We need to center these stories.
Aww.
We do. I'm really grateful for you for being so candid with me.
Oh my God, this is such a dream. I love just talking in my living room. I'm important on a microphone.
Sarah and I love to talk.
I could talk all day.
I was voted the most talkative in high school.
What?
That was my superlative.
They have that superlative?
At the time, I was insulted. And now, who has the last laugh now, bitch? Me. Because I get paid to talk.
I was voted most likely to take over the world.
Whoa. You were intense valedictorian.
Well, I was valedictorian in college, Denise. And in high school, I was going to take over the fucking world.
Okay. Well, now we've hybridized the two and you're ready to rumble.
Anything could happen.
Can you tell the audience where they can find you on social?
I am on Instagram and nothing else because everything's
That's right.
bad
me too.
Right now.
Me too.
Everyone's like,
I'm on TikTok.
I'm not on TikTok because it's a scary place.
I am very intentional about my algorithm. So I've built an algorithm in which these platforms are spiritual, interesting, and joyful for me.
That's beautiful.
But I'm intense about it.
I'm on Instagram mostly looking at dog videos. I'm not on TikTok because I have a really bad attention span. And I think I would just be there all day.
You might.
I'm on Instagram and my name is Sarah Yarkin.
Go find her. Go follow her. Follow School Spirits. You can find it on Paramount Plus. Tune in, honey, because it's so much fun. I'm so looking forward to my binge probably the next week.
You have to let me know what you think about season 2 because I think it's better than season 1.
Also, Finley, Sarah's dog, who turns 12 this week, makes a cameo.
He's in episode 5.
Blink, you might miss it.
But don't blink because you're going to miss it.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
I love you. This was so fun.
So fun.
Thank you so much for listening. If you do like listening, it would mean the world to us if you could subscribe or review the podcast anywhere that you watch or listen to the podcast. It really helps with the algorithm to share this with the world. I want to give a special thank you to young Spielberg and Sarah Yarkin for their beautiful work on our opening jingle, Dana Boulos for her help with the beautiful art, and to all of you for tuning in and keeping this dream alive. If you want to hear certain topics or from certain guests, please feel free to email us. We really, really want to hear from you and see how we can best support you. See you next time.